If you haven't been told already, we know Pastor Matt and Rachel and the whole Ellerton clan are on holidays having a blast, but they're on their way back home, so that'll be fantastic. They'll be coming later tonight, I think is when they arrive, so that'll be exciting to have them back. But today, we have the honour, we have a friend of our house, Pastor Rob Wiltshire, who we know and love from Echuca Epicenter Church there. He's going to come and he's going to be wrapping up our series, looking at why we do what we do. And so can we stand and honour, thank him for coming all the way from Echuca. Pastor Rob, over to you.
It is an absolute honor to be able to come and share with you guys. I agree, Matt. The first time I had Pastor Matt, not this Pastor Matt, the other Pastor Matt, this is a little bit awkward, but the other Pastor Matt to my church, I wasn't there. And the week before, I was announcing to everyone that I said he's coming. And now we were friends, but you know those awkward moments in a relationship where you're just not sure how close you are. You think, I think that he's a friend, but maybe he doesn't think that I'm a friend. I'm just an acquaintance. And so I announced it to the church that I've got a friend coming. And then I paused and hesitated. I said, well, I think we're friends. He came the next week and he preached to the church and he started with clarifying to everyone, yes, we are actually friends. Well, at least I thought that we were friends. And so I can back up. It was Josh that was on announcements, that's correct? Yeah. I can back up. He is definitely watching. When he comes and ministers at my church, there's incredible praise and worship happening. And everyone is engulfed in worship. And you look over at Matt and he's got an earpiece on and he's looking at his phone. You're like, what's he doing? And then you realize that he loves his church and he is a part of this church and he is here. One of his comments to me before he left was highlighting that he'd be watching this service. And his comment was why wouldn't I be watching it? If I don't love my church, who's going to love my church? He loves you guys. I'm honored to call him a friend, honored to call the Ellertons a friend, honored to call you a friend as well, Matt. And so huge honor to be here. I am constantly amazed when someone invites me to come and preach at their church because there's nothing special about me at all. For those of you that don't know me, if you get to know me, you'll find that out. But obviously, I've got something at least special to share. I do have, before I get into the message, I do have a family and they were meant to be with me this morning. I got a wife, her name's Sage. She was from Western Australia until she saw the light. I was the light. And she came to Victoria, to God's country. And then we've got 3 kids, 3 girls together. We've got Miley, Georgia, and Bobby. Our eldest daughter, Miley, has spent the last week up at... where was she? I did tell you and I've forgotten. Something. It was up where it was warm. I think it was very selfish of her, but nonetheless. So she was up there and they're all intending on being here this morning, but she got back a lot later than expected. And so you know what it's like with families. It just doesn't always work. And so they send their greetings and their love, but they couldn't be here. But nonetheless, we're going to have fun, right? Yeah. Were you looking forward to this? I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fantastic. So let's start here. I want you to imagine something, or in particular, I want you to imagine someone. So if it helps, close your eyes. You can, however you want to do it. But I want you to imagine, bring to mind that person in your life that they were the best teacher that you ever had. They're not necessarily a school teacher, though perhaps they were a school teacher, but the best teacher that you ever had, and they may have been a co-worker, they may have been a school teacher, they could have been a coach, they could have been the person that took you through your apprenticeship, the person that influenced you the most, so the best teacher that you ever had. For me, the person that comes to my mind was a youth pastor from when I was a kid. This person, he invested in me. He probably did he just did everything he was paid to do probably. But it actually connected with me and engaged with me in an incredible way. He was the first person that taught me how to hear the voice of God. It was through his ministry and through his leadership that God became real and connected with me. Wasn't that God connected with me for the first time? Because God was always connecting with me, but I discovered him afresh, or specifically, I discovered a deep relationship with him for the first time through his his ministry. And so for me, the person that comes to mind is this youth pastor. And I don't know who it is for you, but this is what I think would be consistent for the most part. That the person that you would think of that was the best teacher in your life, you probably can't remember what they taught you. But what you can remember is that they invested in you. You can remember that they showed up. You can remember that they gave you time. Like for me, he turned up. He would answer the phone. He would connect with me deliberately on a Friday night. He would answer my questions. I can't remember any of the answers to the questions, but I can remember that he engaged with me. And you'd be the same thing. And with the thought being that it doesn't take much serving to connect with people in a way that makes a memorable difference. Which I think you guys are in a sermon series, which it's called Let's Talk Church Conversations, where you're going through like some different things and talking about what happens in the life of church. Because if this is like 6 months in the church is weird. Can anyone agree that church is weird? Like if you're not used to church is a strange place. There's nowhere else in the world, or especially in Australian culture, where sober people gather on a Sunday morning and sing together. Nowhere else does that. Nowhere else does corporate singing. So you guys have been talking about like, why do we do certain things in church? Like, why do we sing in church? Why do we preach in church? Why do we give? That's what you talked about last week, isn't it? Why do we do communion? Like, what's the purpose of this stuff? And this morning I've got the privilege of closing that out with the question of like, why do we serve in church with the first slide? Like, why do we serve? Is there coffee getting served at church? Why are there people out the front welcoming people? Why are there people in the kids team? Why is there a band up here? Why is there a youth ministry? Like, why do we serve in church? And the answer, if we keep moving to the next slide, I think is relatively simple, is that serving is this. We serve because church isn't about me, but it's about we. Like the idea of church is not meant to be just about me as a person, but it's about us coming together. The Apostle Paul, for those of you that don't know your Bibles, the Apostle Paul wrote a letter. He wrote a plethora of letters, but one of them is this letter to the church in Corinth. It's not going to be on the screens, but you can read about it in your own time in 1 Corinthians 12, where he writes, and he uses language similar to that, where he says, like, the church is a body. Highlighting this, that there's a lot of different aspects and parts of the body that make up the whole body, that connect the whole thing together. Like a body's got toes, it's got arms, it's got legs, it's got eyes, and then you can delve down into the finer parts of a body, like there's hair and there's toenails and everything. And he talks about it from the idea that the body is the body has multiple different members, but they all come together to create something, to create the body. Because if it was just a member by itself, it's nothing. And so like a member by itself is me, but we want to move to a we. So serving is how me helps someone feel like they belong to the we. Serving is how I help someone who comes in, walks in, feels like I am an island by myself. I'm just me. I'm just getting by. I'm just doing whatever. It's about how we help that person, that individual, move through life in order to become a we. And so the big idea that I want to try and get across this morning is simply this. We serve to move people from me to we. Move people from being an island to being a part of the body. To connect people, perhaps for the first time, to Jesus. To make people feel seen, feel noticed, cared for, loved. And so what I want to do this morning is I want to share a story that I think completely nails the importance of what like coming alongside and loving and valuing and serving people do, and how simple it can be by just showing up. And so I'm going to take us through a story that happens coming to the end of John's gospel. And ultimately what ends up happening is that you see a group of friends serving another friend who has kind of walked away and serves him in such a way that brings him back into connection with the body. And it starts here with Peter's comment. He says this in John 21:3. He says, I'm going fishing. If you don't know who Peter was one of Jesus' closest disciples, and he makes this statement after Jesus has gone to the cross and died. He says, I'm going fishing. Some of you will have read bumper stickers, seen memes on Facebook, on Instagram. You will have seen hoodies that says, I'm going fishing. And it normally starts with explicit language, I'm going fishing. Because like the statement is, if you've seen it, it's not like, it's such a lovely day, I'm going to go fishing. It's normally, my boss has been a jerk for the 100th time, I'm done. I'm going fishing. Like everything that could have gone wrong has already gone wrong, so I'm checking out and I am going fishing. There is nothing better in my life to do than go fishing. For those of you that love fishing, I'm not trying to diminish fishing, right? I'm not at all trying to do that, but this is the idea that, you know what? I'm done. I am completely done with this. I am checking out, which is exactly what Peter is saying. So when he makes this statement, I'm going fishing, he's not like, this is just such a lovely day. The birds are singing, the birds are chirping, everything's going well. My God loves me, people. It's none of that. He's saying, I'm going fishing for the exact reason that the bumper stickers say that I am going fishing. But to understand that, to understand the why he's saying it like that, we kind of need to roll the clock back about 3 days prior to this. Because 3 days prior to this, he makes this big, bold statement. This big, bold statement about his unwavering commitment to Jesus and how much he loves Jesus and how much he's going to serve Jesus and how much he's going to be with Jesus. And he says this about 3 days before that. He says to Jesus, he says, I am ready to die for you. Like, no matter where you go, Jesus, I'm going to follow you. No matter where you go, I'm going to connect with you. No matter where you go, I'm going to love you. I'm going to serve you. I am going to die for you. Jesus hears him say this and he looks at him, and I can imagine, like, if I'm sitting there, if it was me, like Jesus looks at him firmly in the eyes and gets really close to him because he's about to say something incredibly profound. And he looks at Peter and he says this. He says, before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you're going to do this. You're going to deny 3 times that you even knew me. So Jesus pushes back on him like, I'm going to die for you. And he's like, you're not going to do that. You're going to deny that you even knew me. And for those of you that know the story, knows what happens. And if you don't, what ends up happening is that Jesus gets arrested not long after this. He's put on trial and eventually gets nailed to a cross and crucified and died. But in the lead up to this, Peter follows along with the arrest and the court and everything like that. And throughout these moments and these happenings, what ends up happening is that different people turn up to Peter and they look at him and say, you were one of them. You were one of those guys from Galilee. You were one of the disciples. You were with that man. You were with them. And every single time he says, no, I wasn't. And he does this 3 times and then the rooster crows. And while you and I think would both agree that perhaps not the finest day in Peter's life, but we would get it, right? Would you get it, Matt? You'd get it. Like you'd kind of get it as far as he's made this statement and then he's denied Jesus, but like his life's potentially on the chopping block if he agrees with that. So we kind of get that him denying Jesus may not be something we would agree with, but perhaps us put in the same situation might do something similar. We wouldn't justify it and say it's right or anything, but we can get it. What we don't probably get is the dearth of destruction he brings into his life because of it, because of the cultural thing that happens. In that culture, moving on to the next slide, it's this. In that culture, in the world of rabbinical discipleship, a Talmud, which is basically a Hebrew term for disciple, breaking away from their rabbi wasn't just uncommon, it was unthinkable. That's exactly what he was doing. He was breaking away, denying, saying it wasn't him, and we keep going on. It was unthinkable. Other slide. Oh, it's over this side as well. That's sneaky. Sneaky people. It wasn't unthinkable. It wasn't just walking away. It was doing this. It was a public rejection. It was the ultimate slap in the face to their teacher. That's exactly what it was. It was the ultimate slap in the face to his teacher. And so when he's done this, what he has just professed is that I am out. Maybe that wasn't his desire, but because that's everything that he said, in that time, in that culture, in that happening, that meant he was out. He was out. He didn't belong anymore. You didn't do that and get asked back in. He was kicked out, or should have been kicked out. He had just committed the cardinal offense, the worst thing that he could have possibly done. So back to that story at the start. You can probably recollect that person that sowed into you in some way. And when we bring that back to a faith context, you can probably remember that person that sowed into your faith, sowed into your connection with Jesus, sowed into you being here today. But while you can remember that person, you can potentially, or most likely, you remember the person that was responsible for maybe nearly destroying your faith. So you got the person that sowed into you, and then there's most likely there's that person that did something or acted in such a way that distracted and destroyed or kind of started pulling you away from faith. Perhaps it was you had that friend that you were growing up with, and you loved Jesus and they loved Jesus, but they also loved walking this fine line between what you should do and what you shouldn't do, between what right and wrong. And you started walking that line with them, and eventually you kept on going off the side with them, and it ended up you doing things that made you feel guilty and shameful, and you thought like, I'm out. I'm not welcome here anymore. If I've done something that I shouldn't have done, and I'm not welcome to be in God's presence, in God's place, in God's space anymore, and you start feeling like you're out. Or maybe it wasn't a friend, but maybe you had a boyfriend or girlfriend convince you that sleeping with them wouldn't harm or hinder your faith. And so you did, and then the same thing happened, that you felt guilt and you felt shame, and you felt that I don't belong and I shouldn't be here and I can't be here because of all this sin that is in my life, and that God doesn't want me anymore until I completely clean everything up. Maybe it wasn't any of that. Maybe it was something different. Maybe it was, with the next slide, it was you. Maybe it wasn't someone, but you were the one. You did something off your own bat. You chose certain things of your own accord that led you to feel like, I don't belong. I'm out. I've just done something that I shouldn't have done. And because I've done that, I'm out. Which is exactly where Peter is. He's committed that in his culture, in his mind, perhaps that cardinal offense that you assume likewise is so big that you're out. So the question that I ask for those of you that resonates with, that you know that feeling of I've done this and so therefore I'm out. The question would be this, like, what kept you from returning to and staying in your old life? What kept you from, when you did that, when you made that mistake, when you felt that guilty, when you felt that shame, what kept you staying there? What kept you from going off on that track and just being there and never coming back? Because when Peter says that I'm checking out, what he's saying is that I am walking back to my old way of life. When he says I'm going fishing, that's what he's doing. He's not just going fishing for a day, he's going fishing for life. Not fishing for men, fishing for fish. Because his life of fishing for men is done, according to him, and he needs to go back to his old way of living. So what kept you? And my assumption would be this, that you are here because at some point someone saw enough in you to invest in you, to serve you, to love you, so that when you felt that you didn't belong, they still turned up and served you in such a way that kept drawing you back. Which is exactly what happens to Peter. He says that he's checking out, and he says, I'm going fishing. What do his friends do? His friends say this. He says, I'm going fishing, and they say, you know what? We'll come. Some of them didn't even like fishing. Matthew was a tax collector. Probably the furthest thing in that timeline from fish and everything. But he's like, you know what? I'm in. They're all in. They say, we'll come fishing. And what they're doing is they're effectively saying to that person that's struggling, that person that doesn't know if they belong or if they should be here, is like, you know what, I'm going to come, I'm going to turn up, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to get you to church. I'm going to make coffee for you. I'm going to serve your kids. I'm going to do whatever I can to be with you, to engage in you, to serve you in such a way that moves you from feeling like a me that doesn't belong to a we that does belong. I'm going to do whatever I can to serve you. I'm just going to stay with you and serve you and love you, no matter what it looks like, no matter how dark it looks, no matter how perhaps bad it looks like you've done. I'm going to serve and I'm going to love you and move you from me to we. And so they're like, we'll come. And so they all jump in a boat and they go fishing, but they caught nothing all night until the next morning they see Jesus coming along, and it's over this side, isn't it? I want to say a joke, but none of my jokes ever land, so I'm just going to leave it. No jokes. At dawn, Jesus was standing on the beach, but the disciples, they couldn't see who he was. And so he called out, "Fellows, have you caught any fish?" And they're like, "No, we haven't caught anything at all. Which side am I going to now?" And then they said, "So throw your net to the right-hand side of the boat and you'll get some." And at that point they did, and they throw their nets over this side, not to the left, because that's what Beyonce talks about. And so they did that, and they couldn't haul in the net because there were so many fish in it. And at that point, what happens? They realize who it is. They realize that it is Jesus. And the disciple that Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." The disciple Jesus loved was John, the author of this book, the author of this gospel. He says to Peter, "It is Jesus." Serving people isn't just about making people feel good. It is deliberately connecting them to Jesus. They turn up, the rest of the disciples, John and Matthew and like all of them, they turn up to deliberately serve, to deliberately love, to deliberately stay with him no matter what, in order to serve them, to get to this point where they can push his gaze back to Jesus. Here's the reality. You don't know the people that are sitting beside you in the rows, in front of you, behind you, what they're going through. Perhaps for some of you here this morning, that's where you're at. You're like, "I'm going fishing." And maybe it's how we serve, how we connect, how we love that changes that. So the thought is this, that you're on the welcome door. You're not just welcoming people into a building. You're welcoming them into the presence of God. And perhaps they've walked out of a weekend that's been whatever. And they're not sure if they should be here, if they can be here, but they come because someone's brought them or because it's ritual or it's whatever. And you connect with them in such a way that it just squashes any form of shame or judgment. And all of a sudden they realize that Jesus is actually for them and actually loves them and hasn't abandoned them and pushed them away. Maybe you serve them on coffee in such the same way. One of the things I try and do with our coffee team is, and it's an impossible task, but I try and get them to do it, is if we can get to the place of remembering someone's order before they turn up to the counter to order that order, that's the goal. Not because I want some party trick, but I want us as individuals, I want us as a church to be so attentive to what people need and want that we don't miss it, so that we serve them in such a way that says that I see you and that I value you. And if I can do that, and if we can do that, we can point them towards Jesus. And if we can do that, we can move them from me and to become a we. And so that's exactly what John does. He says, "It's the Lord." And then when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic and he jumped into the water and he headed to shore. That's what serving does. It connects people with the King. It connects people with Jesus. It points people towards Jesus. And here's the reality. It's a lot easier and simpler than we make it out to be. Research suggests, with the next slide, that when a young person has 3 adult believers who are not family members, who constantly engage with them at church, this is what happens. Their likelihood of staying connected to faith and to adulthood doesn't just increase, it multiplies. How good is that? One of the things that I love about what's happening now with the next generation, when I was a kid, I didn't want any adults in the kids programs as far as in the youth program because they were old. But the shift is now for the youth, love multi-generational. They want other people involved. My kids want the older people involved. They want my age group and above involved in everything that they're doing. They want this multi-generational connection. And the beauty of that is it doesn't take that much effort and energy in order to invest in them in such a way to serve them that keeps them connected. Remembering their coffee order, remembering their hobbies, remembering their dreams and so their aspirations and what they like and what they can do so we can connect with them in such a way the next week and the week after that make them feel like they matter and they have purpose and they have value. It doesn't take much. It just takes some deliberate effort to be able to serve them in such a way that connects with them to let them know that they are part of the we, right? It doesn't take much. And the beauty of that is that we're talking about youth here at the second, but that same stuff tracks for adults. It doesn't take that much to serve people, to make people and help people feel like they matter. It just takes 1, 2, or 3 people to be deliberate, to choose to be deliberate, to choose to serve, to choose to get messy, to choose to engage. And so what if God's plan for growing his church isn't about adding more programs, but about multiplying relationships? You get to serve people by multiplying relationships. But what if God's, that's the next slide. What if your greatest contribution to God's kingdom isn't what you do, but how you serve people? I get that serving is doing and doing is serving, but we have this connotation that the doing is always big. And the reality is that not all of you will be an eloquent speaker that can preach. Maybe you can't do that, but what you can do is you're an incredible welcomer. And when you shake someone's hand, when you hug someone, when you engage someone, they genuinely feel loved and seen and valued and noticed. You can't preach perhaps, but you can welcome people and help people feel like they matter. Maybe you can't lead worship without everyone want to run out the building, which is what would happen if I was singing. But you can make coffee. And you not just can make coffee, you can remember their coffee orders. And you can serve them in such a way that notices them and values them. Maybe you can do that. But maybe you're not a great evangelist, so to speak, like as far as you're not great at sharing your faith, or maybe you're not great within the kids program or the youth program, but you're incredible at hosting people and having families over for dinner and engaging with people like that. You can use your gifts in a way to serve people in order to help people feel valued, connected, and engaged. So the question that you might be asking is, Rob, great information, but what do I do? Like, how do I practically put some of this into place? And I'm going to make this so simple. You can all pull your phones out. You can pull your phone out and do this. Pull your phone out, open your calendar, and then block out 30 minutes. If you've got a diary, you can do the same thing. You can open it out, find some space, block out 30 minutes. If you haven't got 30 minutes, take 5 minutes. This stuff will be simple. It's not going to be hard, but it's a whole lot simpler than it is complicated in order to serve people, to move people from me to we. And it doesn't take much time in the calendar. And I want you to do this. Number one, you can find someone, you can do one of these 3 things, or you can do all of these 3 things. Number one, text, call, connect with someone in our church. I feel funny saying in our church, but it's not necessarily my church. But in our church, like find someone to text or call, or follow up and engage with them. Send them a text message and say, I just want to let you know that I'm praying for you. Is there anything I can pray for you for? And if they follow back with a message, don't ignore it. Write something back saying, I just want to let you know that I am praying about ... And so Pastor Matt, he's over at another country, another place. I'm just praying that your plane gets home okay. Right? Like, whatever it is, like actually get back to them, engage with them, text them, or the other one is this, like invite someone to coffee. Find someone to invite to coffee to say, and you could do this with that person that you sent a text message to, I'm going to invite you to coffee. We're going to sit down, and this is the question that I'm going to ask them, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? How can I help you feel like this is your church? How can I help you feel like you're a part of this church, a meaningful part of the body? How can I help you do that? Or the other one is this, that fill out a how can I serve card. Is it they're cards, Matt, or are they QR? Or they're everything? They're both. Both. You can QR code it. You can fill it out in the card form. However it is that you want to do, you can fill it out. You can spend time going through the list of the different things that you can do, that you could serve. And you know what? If you don't know, tick them all. And just go through the trial by fire. And then like maybe next week, you're the other one up here on vocals, and then everyone leaves the building like, well, I won't do that again. Right? Like, so if you don't know what to do, try your hand at something. If you don't know what to do, talk to Pastor Matt or talk to the other Pastor Matt. Right? Like talk to someone. If you don't know what to do, talk to someone. Find something. Find a way to serve. And this is important because it doesn't take that much to do something to make a big impact on someone. That youth pastor that invested in me, he probably doesn't even know my name. He probably doesn't remember my name or even remember who I am. But you know what? I'll never forget his name. I'll never forget his name because he showed up, because he served when I needed him to serve. We will never know how much impact our serving has on an individual this side of eternity. But my promise is this, that your impact has far more impact than you ever begin to imagine. I want to close with this thought. Every morning, when you wake up, you have a choice. You can focus on your own spiritual journey, your own prayer time, your own Bible reading, your own growth, and that's great, but that's just the me path. Or you can wake up and you can ask, God, who do you want me to invest in today? That's the we path. And here's what I know about the we path. It is always more adventurous, challenging, and ultimately more like Jesus. Who can I serve today? How can I serve today? How can I love today? How can I connect today? So as you close out this series on church conversations on like, why do we serve? We serve in order to help people move from me to we. That they get to be part of the body. They get to be part of the church. So how about you stand and let me pray for you. I'll invite the band to come up. Father, I want to say, first and foremost, God, thank you. Thank you that you chose to serve us, Jesus. You chose to serve us by going and dying on a cross in order to reconcile us to the Father. Thank you that you lead by example of serving. And God, I want to say thank you that each and every one of us has got someone in mind who served us in such a way that kept us connected, kept us feeling loved, kept us feeling engaged. Father, I want to say thank you that you don't designate those tasks of serving people just to a chosen few, Father, but you designate those tasks of serving people to all of us. And so, Father, I want to pray this morning that as challenging as it can be to sometimes get out of our comfort zone and to serve, God, that you stir all of us to serve, to connect, to engage. I want to pray for those of us that aren't at the moment, God, that you bring to mind ways and means by which we can serve, Jesus, and serve in such a way that helps people move from where they are by themselves as a me, Father, and move them into this space where they're a functioning part of the body and they are part of we. And God, I pray that as we do that with the remembering that while we may not see the impact is huge. In Jesus' name.